Cider Club is really one of those rare opportunities that gives you an awesome glimpse into the world of cider making. A real deep dive into the general offerings of what fine style cider making can really be. One of the things that really makes our Cider Club so special is that we get a lot of really rare fruit that just you can't make in large style batches. This isn't stuff that we can distribute out to multiple states and things of that nature. These are 750, 500, 50-gallon batches that we're producing and only have a limited number of cases that we can distribute out to people. I mean, rare varietals like Franklin apples, Dabonet, Kingston Black, Jonathan Mill, Ribson Pippin,
Alsatian crab.
These are like,
Doggo,
Oxford Black.
Mm-hmm. All those ones.
These are all apples that like really only constitute a fraction of the percentage of apples that are grown in North America, and by and large are unavailable to the general public. So for us to be able to bring them in through Shannon's networking and Stormalong's general outreach to the agricultural and farmers that are the backbone of our industry, to help bring these apples into our fold and help present these ciders to you, it's really a great honor, and we're really glad to be able to share it with you.
When we started, over 9 years ago, sort of Shannon's mission that he communicated to me is that we have this incredible diversity of apples in the world and also here, and diversity of ways of making cider that the public just doesn't really know about. So this is a way for us to sort of engage in education and sort of an exchange with other cider makers as well, of like what's possible in this. When you view cider as wine and you bring all of the resources to bear that you bring to make an amazing wine, you can elevate cider to just this incredible level that I think a lot of people haven't seen, and that's really what the Rare Apple Club serves for us.
And for those kind of drinkers. I think the thing I used to run into all the time in my retail days was I don't like cider, it's too sweet. And it just tastes like apples, and it holds you back if you're not exploring. So the idea that we're a brand large enough to be able to have everyday offerings that you can see in stores at a very reasonable price, but all you got to do is just ask, and we have this whole another realm and a whole another portfolio of these like apple specific high acid tannin things that people are just I've never tried anything like this, running into that.
And there's like a whole other world of like people love wine. Wine is such a massive part of the alcohol industry in general, and like cider, like you see so few single varietal or even like varietals named on ciders. Like when you look at the market leaders of the cider industry, like you have things that are a lot of times made from concentrates. But us being able to share these things are like you can name the 4 or 5 or 6 individual varietals of apples, or even say that this came from one individual orchard, is really something that we can like. It's a taste of place and a taste of where the industry is rooted in. For not a pun unintended. But like these are the things that like cider is a truly like agriculturally rooted industry, and like it is like even like wine is of course as well, but like wine is so like meticulously like crafted, like everything is like taken to an extreme, like where you have like so much like little bits and like every step is monitored. But we can let these like varietals speak, and we can let these things go as they wish, or we can take them down to like monitoring every single day and like touching them. Like what I've done with a number of these things, like Golden Rust, is like monitoring every day, like where is it ready, like where is it tasting, how's it tasting, what flavors are we getting today, what flavors, and then right at that exact point, crash, filter, pasteurize, lock in that flavor, or we can let things go super naturally or super funky or super clean, and we can select for those styles of things depending on what we individually want to run this particular project to be. So I think that's what's really fun about the Rare Apple Club.
We've been talking about apples and terroir and sort of how special this stuff is, and particularly when we talk about bringing in many of these apples have very special yeasts and microbial communities on them, and sometimes when you ferment something like that, you get a one of one. You get a unique composition of things fermenting that apple, and that apple's also never going to grow the same next year. So you really get just a unique art piece, a snapshot. So we had been touching on wine quickly, and it is I've just sort of had this thought where in wine and beer, there's this very intense varietal slash stylistic guideline expectation. And in cider, even sort of the most established old world traditions, Spanish cider, French cider, British cider, don't always get the kind of press that wine or other beverages that have a similar provenance to them get.
Yeah.
And I feel like it kind of gives us some artistic license.
Absolutely.
While we're trying to act with our Rare Apple project, we're trying to do stuff in ways that match what winemakers have been doing for hundreds of thousands of years, and also bring in some modern techniques. But unlike if we were winemakers,
we're not beholden.
No, we're not
Yeah, we're not
beholden.
beholden to it.
No one's nitpicking our techniques. Really, what people judge us on is that taste, and when we bring something incredible, we get to sort of call it as we like, call the shots as we see them. It's a lot of creativity.
Yeah, and we have like the ability to use ancient traditions. There's arguments. Like champagne producers learned how to carbonate from British perry. The arguments that the Roman word for sugar stems from the Basque word for apples. It is an ancient drink, but also at the same time we are defining it constantly.
Yeah, it has so much history, and it seems to be constantly being forgotten how important apples and cider are to drinking all around the world.
Yeah, because as I said, I think all of these cider regions, and they are extremely small when you look at it. When we talk American cider, we are truly talking most of the continent. Really, like continental USA, you were finding apples and cideries in every single country. You go to Spain, it's along the northern coast. You go to France, it's in Normandy and Brittany. In England, it's in these small regions. These are very small regional things, but they have truly their own identities and their own ways of approaching stuff. And what is an acceptable cider? Like the French way of keeving, like how many hundreds of years did they figure out how to maintain residual sweetness? It's an incredible move by those people, and obviously the French are very dedicated and very and create these delicate, decadent products. And then you have these British ones where I'm finding barnyard, really wonderful, feels like a place, really feels like the UK. And then the Spanish ciders, flat and high acid and just a lot, really refreshing. I've had T-bone steaks that were about this thick with a nice bottle of Spanish cider on the northern coast, and it was exactly what I wanted with that thing. It can be this thing, but in here, there isn't this American pomology that exists in all these other countries. We haven't taken the hundreds of years to create our own identity. And I feel like with us and this Rare Apple Club, we are using those new apples that are out here being discovered, even this millennia, that are going to blow the doors off everybody around the world. And everybody's going to be asking, where can I get that? And the answer is right in America.
And the interesting flavor.
We have the same quality of material we're starting
Also,
with. Grapes might have more sugar and sometimes more acid, but it
Yeah.
doesn't mean that they're necessarily more interesting.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. And to that point, you have, grapes, grapes can go up to 20 bricks, 20, 25 bricks. Wow, Golden Rust, a couple years ago, I had a Golden Rust that was 22 bricks from start.
Oh, we have things like Franklin.
Yeah, you read them.
Yes, right.
Yeah.
22 bricks, which is 11 bricks,
Yeah.
11% alcohol.
Yeah,
fully fermented.
I think that's a thing that would even surprise some growers, because if you're not used to working with heirloom fruit and you're looking to maximize color and size, you're not necessarily getting these super intense flavors.
Yeah.
We were talking about an American style, and I think we did have an American style for a little while. We just lost it through Prohibition.
Oh, for sure. Absolutely.
Very much so.
Especially in New England, the
When
falling
people
off of that,
came here, they tried to plant British cider varietals, and anything that was older world had serious issues with fire blight. And so there had to be this new way. Tannin was a huge way that you would stabilize cider before the ability to filter it, before there was really an ability to clean anything, right? And so not having access to any bittersweet fruit and not having any real endemic, fruits here in the U.S. that could bring that tannin in, the American style of hard cider is a really intensely acidic white wine style cider. And that's sort of where we started out. Obviously we have Legendary Dry, but a lot of our other first offerings, Boston Heirloom, and some of our other first specialty bottles were all focused on this American style, which is, slightly higher alcohol, really intense acidity, as clean as possible, sparkling and effervescent, and really sort of going with that white wine trying to bring as much tropical fruit in as you can, and that acidity stabilizes it, particularly in the olden days with sulfites, and you could get a cider that would last just as long as a tannic cider. And in fact, here in Sherburne, there was an absolutely huge cider mill called the Holbrook Cider Mill, and they were producing over 1 million gallons a year that was being shipped back to the UK.
That's crazy.
Because the
It's
UK
a
was
5-minute walk
curious
that
about
way.
this.
It's right down the road. Isn't that Cider Mill Road? Yeah.
They had a guy whose job it was to drill a precise hole in the bung of every barrel so that the last bricks of fermentation would slowly carbonate the cask as it went over
Fascinating.
on an ocean voyage on a schooner.
That's really fun.